Hello and welcome back to today's Personal Finance Show here on Dublin City FM with me, Paul Merriman from askpaul.ie. I mentioned that after the break we have a very special guest in studio, and that guest is here, and it is Liz Kavanagh. Liz, you are very welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for travelling all the way from Galway up to see us and coming to the show. I really appreciate that, by the way. For listeners that don't know, we haven't actually met officially. We met briefly at a gig a number of years ago. But you kind of called us out on social media when you were talking about your own personal story. So rather than me talking about it, do you mind bringing listeners through what you've been through over the last number of years? And maybe go back to maybe the beginning of your journey.
Yeah, okay. So mid last year, May, June last year, I started getting really bad pains in my stomach. And I was also suffering with constipation a lot as well. And then I went to my GP. They said it was probably just my Crohn's flaring up. I have been diagnosed with Crohn's since I was 14. Okay. So they sent me to my consultant to get a better in-depth kind of more look at what might be happening. And my consultant also agreed that it was probably the Crohn's flaring up as well. Oh. So I was put on steroids and hopefully it would stop, but it didn't do anything. By September I had lost so much weight, I couldn't eat. I was in severe pain if I ate anything. So we were actually on holidays in Lanzarote, and Kieran said to me, look, when we go home you're going to the hospital, like there's definitely something wrong there, these tablets aren't working for you. So in September then I went into the hospital and was on IV steroids, and again they weren't helping, they weren't doing any good at all. So was discharged from the hospital on tablets to see would they help, but still nothing. So I was then admitted into the public hospital because then my consultant thought I needed surgery. So he thought I had a blockage in my bowel and that it could perforate. So went in for all my CT scans and all them kind of things, and was put on antibiotics in case it perforated. And again, nothing was happening. It was still, wow. I was just getting worse. I wasn't able to eat. And then the team decided I needed surgery, that it was obviously a blockage in my bowel from my Crohn's, and that the only way to fix it would be to remove the section of bowel that's blocked. So went in for surgery on the 25th of October last year. And during surgery, they discovered that it didn't really look like Crohn's. It was a blockage, or it was a big mass, but it didn't look like Crohn's at all. So a week later, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had, it was cancer that they found. It wasn't my Crohn's at all. Thankfully, the Crohn's has gone very quiet. But it was, unfortunately, they found cancer, and it had kind of spread to other areas as well. So they took out the main mass. They took 50 centimetres of my bowel out. And then there was other pieces of cancer that they couldn't get to. So they said chemo would be what was needed to treat that. So then we did a quick session of embryo freezing in December last year. And then I started chemo I started immune therapy first. Immune therapy wasn't working for me. So in March this year, I started chemo, and I've been on chemo since.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's been a life-changing year, to be fair, since this time last year, since all this happened. I mean, you were working, you had your own career, you were doing quite well, you're obviously earning an income, you're going on holidays with Kieran, everything is what you'd say a normal life.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And I think you tagged us probably about 6 or 8 months ago. So you've turned what you'd call a life-changing diagnosis, obviously probably hit you like a brick, but you've turned it into a powerhouse through your Instagram page. And on your Instagram page, you're showing people the motivation that you have to get up and keep going. And whether it's the steps you're doing on a daily basis now recently or going through chemotherapy, so you're trying to, obviously change other people's lives and let them know what you're going through, which I think is absolutely amazing. And when you called us out a very specific product in relation to income protection, because and this is what today's show was all about, guys, because Liz, you were lucky enough to have income protection, and it wasn't through us, so we didn't give it to you through here at Ask Paul. You obviously followed the page, but you had it through work. So you were one of the people that were lucky enough that you worked for an employer that had income protection in place through Irish Life. Yeah,
I didn't even know we had income protection until I needed it.
Yeah, like so many people. Many people.
So I suppose as soon as I got sick, I'm very lucky. My boss straight away said, right, we'll start the income protection process, because it takes a while to get everything sorted. Now, at the time, I suppose we thought I'd be out for 6 months, and work would cover me for 6 months sick pay anyway. So I was like, I probably won't need it. I'll be back in 6 months. And he was like, we'll just do it just in case. It's no harm to have the application started, and then we can cancel it if you're back to work.
What I will say is a very, very, very clever boss, because not a lot of people do that. A lot of people wait till near the end of the 6 months with their sick leave and then apply. Yeah. And then if there were sickness-wise by then, that process can be quite draining. Yeah. And they have to find time within, whether it's treatment or recovery or rehab or whatever they're going through, that, you know, it makes a big difference. So it was really good advice, to be honest, by your boss.
Like we started in the process in October, and it was February before I was approved. And my process was quite easy in that I didn't have to go to the Irish Life doctors to get any reviews or anything. My oncologist letter was enough, whereas a lot of other people have to go to do consultations and be reviewed, and that takes even longer. I
think we'll take a break in a few moments, and we come back from the break. I'm going to break down income protection, I'm going to break down the claim process and help people understand why. But very quickly, on your point, if somebody has, say, they're on income protection and they're out work sick for a long term due to maybe, say, a mental health issue or a back complaint or something that's not as easily diagnosable as an oncologist saying you've cancer, that's when those doctors have to go in and make sure that everything is above board. So I think it can be a little bit more tedious for people, depending on what their actual reason for being out is. But I suppose yours was very, very obvious, and an oncologist saying
it still took 5 months to do.
It still goes through the claim. Okay, so you mentioned, like I said, you have been nice enough to call us out. In fairness, you mentioned Irish Life as well, because I think Irish Life are quite good at income, especially from a group level point of view. Once you go on and you've gone through that process, your income comes in. And the reason I asked you on the show was, as a financial planner, we always talk about three main parts of financial plan, which is protect, grow and replace. So the grow piece is about investing and, getting your money working hard for you. The replace piece is when you get to retirement age and you want to replace your income because you want to stop working. Mm-hmm. But the first part and the most important part, and I've always said this in the 20 odd year of my career, the protection piece, and in particular income protection, I feel is the most important financial product. So I think it's more like you probably had a company pension plan, but you can't access that company pension plan.
No.
And if you had went from your kind of decent salary, your good salary, down to just a social welfare benefit, it would have been...
Oh, that would have been a massive drop. Like, I wouldn't have been able to live... comfortably at all.
Yeah. I think that's the point we try to get across from a financial planning point of view. And everybody probably goes, and you probably had this attitude maybe last summer, it wouldn't happen to me. And everybody does, in fairness, when it happens. And the last thing you want in a health crisis is a financial crisis. Mm-hmm. But it must be good to know that the financials are in place on the back of having the product.
Oh, it was a blessing to me. And that's why I called you out on social media. I talk about the good and the bad of cancer and the journey that I'm on. And one thing that I advocate for now is income protection, because I as I said, I didn't know I even had it. But if I didn't have it, my rent and my car loan would be all that I'd be able to pay for with the social welfare payment. Yeah. So I'd have no money for medicine, no money for food, it'd be a struggle.
Yeah, it would be a struggle. Yeah, and obviously we know people listening today might be in a situation where they are living on social welfare benefits, and I think what Liz did was kind of calling out how difficult that is.
Yeah.
Having something like the income protection product in the background has obviously made a massive impact. When you went on the income protection product, maybe just policy, just maybe bring listeners through. You just get paid like a salary every month from Irish Life now, as your employer.
Yes, yeah. So you get your social welfare every week, and then they top up to your 70%. Ours was 70%, so it was a good policy.
Very good.
So they top up to 70% of my salary. That just comes in on the day I get paid. I was getting paid. Now I get paid through Irish Life.
Yeah, and in fairness to those policies, again, I'll go through this in more detail after the break, but there's so many different products in the marketplace. But typically they go to retirement age. Yeah. So again, if it was a case where you couldn't return to work because, it was maybe something serious that didn't allow you ever to return back, you're going to end up on an income protection claim right the way up to retirement age. So again, that type of long-term I think it's priceless. I genuinely do. So I would encourage two things here to listeners before we take a quick break. Number one is, if your employer has a company pension plan, you more than likely have two products attached to it. One is going to be income protection or salary protection, and the next is going to be what's called death in service. So if you were to unfortunately pass away while you worked in employment, you have X% of your salary paid. That's usually 4 times your salary. If you're someone that is self-employed or somebody that works for a company that doesn't have a company pension plan, now you can have these benefits without the company pension plan, but it's rare. If you work for someone that doesn't, I would urge you 100% to make it your business to try and get income protection for yourself. And I'd really encourage them. I think the reason I'm so passionate about this, and since we're talking about your health, I've got, I think I mentioned this a few times on there before, I've got stage 3 kidney disease, so I can't get income protection. So I've always known since I was a kid, and when I started working in ex-Irish Life and started working in Irish Life many moons ago, I knew I'd never qualify for income protection. So I've always been I know I'll end up on dialysis at some stage, but hopefully about my 60s and I'll be financially secure. But it's always been a fear of mine. So that's why I've always been quite passionate about making sure everybody I know can try to get income protection, because if it does go wrong, you don't want that financial crisis with a health crisis. So if you're self-employed, you need to get this product ASAP, because you definitely don't have an employer to support you.
Like, you won't get social welfare even if you're self-employed.
It's so difficult. You can't get it, but it's ridiculously difficult to claim for. It's only there for the years. It's really, really difficult. It's not that good. But yeah, so if you're self-employed, make sure you have income protection. If you're someone that works for an employer that doesn't have income protection, you can still get it for yourself. The premiums are tax deductible. So if you're on the high rate of income tax, you're going to get 40% of rebate from revenue, and on the lower rate of income tax, 20%. So this is a policy that the government, it's the only other policy along with that kind of pension where you get tax relief for it, because the government don't want you relying on the state benefit. They want you to have the income protection policy. So it is so important. Like I said, just to go over the benefits, Liz, you mentioned up to 70-75% of your salary can be paid, but you can just cover if it isn't affordability, especially if you have kids, especially if you're renting as well. If you can just cover maybe 50% of your salary or 40%, so your mortgage and your shopping or whatever's covered, it doesn't have to be the full 75% maximum. So people can actually go on the range. So I think that's so important. So now what I'm going to try and do in this section of the show, which is quite difficult as we know it's a radio show, but if you do head over to the YouTube channel later on, we're going to bring you through live examples of how income protection works. So what I'm going to give everybody is I'm going to run through the products. So we know that Liz was Irish Life, and Irish have a really good corporate product, and most of the companies will do what they call a corporate policy. They go in, they cover everybody in work. And typically speaking, it's where you'll find somebody like an employer will have a company pension plan, and the income protection or salary protection will be just added onto it. If you don't have it, you should go to one of the providers. So you can come through, I'd never say go to the one provider in particular case. So I wouldn't go in or log into Irish Life, Aviva, Zurich, one of these policies, or New Ireland and buy the policy. I would typically say come to somebody like us, a financial broker, a financial planner, that will be able to bring you through what matters to you most. And I'm going to give you a reason why. Some of the policies have very different terms and conditions. So if you look for argument's sake at ages, so let's just look for argument's sake, Liz, because you have a corporate plan, I'm going to probably think that your corporate plan goes up to retirement age, which is 65, okay? Yeah. So some of the schemes, so if you look at all the providers, some will go to 70. So Aviva, Royal London and Zurich will allow you to insure yourself up to 70 years of age. Okay. Where Irish Life and the likes of New Ireland will stop at 65. Now, what does that mean? Because you have a company pension plan, it's fine when you get to 65. If you're self-employed and you go to Zurich, say for argument's sake, or Aviva, they'll insure you to 70. So if you go on an income protection claim at 55, you're covered right away to 70 years of age. You don't have to pull your pension at 65. Okay. So these financial products are quite in-depth to come into a really good financial plan. And as you've already described, trying to live on the social welfare benefit is quite a struggle. And the longer I find clients have, bigger kind of salaries and they're older, typically speaking, the older people get, the more income they kind of amass from promotions, etc. So it's really, really important to try and make sure that you have the right product that suits you. So don't be just going into the life company and taking a policy. Making sure it fits your financial plan with a financial planner is more important. Liz, the other thing we know about your policy is that you were up for 6 months because you had sick pay in work. So work covered you full salary for 6 months.
That's right, yeah.
So again, another really good thing to have from an employment point of view. So if you're taking your policy out yourself in your own name, that's called a deferred period. You can have the deferred periods kick in from 4 weeks. So if you're someone that may be a self-employed, has a little bit of personal debt, a mortgage and kids, you probably wouldn't survive 6 months before you get paid your income protection. So you might need it from 4 weeks. And again, the likes of Irish Life and New Warrant, Irish Life will only start at 13 weeks, in New Warrant 8 weeks, but the other companies can get you in for 4 weeks. So again, I know this is very hard over the radio. What I'm trying to get across here is that income protection is the most important product you can have. But just because there's 5 providers in the marketplace doesn't mean they're all equally as good for individuals. Yeah. Some people will need a different plan and different recommendation than others, I suppose. But Liz, from your point of view, when you mentioned earlier on, you just get your wages paid in on a monthly basis. Have you been reviewed? Let's talk about the claims process. So it took you a while to get the cover. You mentioned a few months before you got approved.
It took 5 months to get approved.
Yeah, and you did have to go for a medical writing, so your oncology letter. Yeah. And do you know why it took so long then? Because I'm even thinking that's a long time.
Yeah, no, they didn't give any reason. They just said it was being reviewed. Anytime I checked in on them, they were just saying it was under review. So
might give others the benefit of doubt and knowing that you had 6 months before you had to claim it and it was just in the queue and being processed and they weren't really going to move on it in case you didn't need to take the time off work or in case you maybe you're back in work. We give them the benefit out of that one. Okay, and have you been reviewed since? So you're on income protection since when?
Since February.
Have you heard anything from them?
No.
It's brilliant. Sorry, this is a good thing, by the way, because I'm trying to get across the airways to people that it's not an intrusive process. Yeah. Once you get it, you kind of stay on it. They will review it eventually. But for you, I'll probably review it through your doctors because it is a cancer. It might get the oncologist to say, it's still in treatment, still ongoing, chemo, etc. At some stage,
with my oncologist directly, they just got the name of the oncologist off me and then dealt with the oncologist directly. I didn't have to go looking for a letter or anything. It was all done. They sent the form to him.
Yeah, they said, okay, so they sent the form to him, he got it back to them and everything was in place. Yeah. So it's literally, okay, it took time, but it was that easy. Yeah, it wasn't that it wasn't that invasive either.
No.
Okay, very good. And you haven't had any kind of correspondence yet, so but I'd expect in a year or two time,
possibly,
once those reports start to phase out and hopefully full recovery's in way and you can go back to work, you will. The other thing about this as well, some of the companies do this, is they have really what's called good back to work schemes. I'm not sure what kind of corporate plan you're on with Irish Life, but typically speaking, some of the insurance companies will allow you to go back to work on a part-time basis or phase you back into work.
Yeah.
Because if someone's been off work sick for a number of years, especially a prolonged period of time, it's very hard for them to say, right, come Monday morning, I'm back into the workforce, I'm back sitting on my desk or I'm back on my tools, whatever your occupation is. So they will allow you to ease your way back in on a 2-day week, a 3-day week and build you up slowly.
Yeah.
Did you use any of the other support services you might be asking from Irish Life? So whether it was the counselling services or anything like that? No. You just went straight for the income. That's absolutely fine. And like I said, it's not that you have to use them, it's just they are there. They have all these additional benefits that are available to people, which is really, really good. Liz, I'll hand the mic over to you. Maybe just sum it up to people, how you feel about having the income protection. And again, I'm not trying to oversell this in relation to, but I do think it's so important for people. I've always said this isn't just because you mentioned us on Instagram. This is, like I said, the core of, I think, of every financial plan is to protect what they have.
Yeah, no, it's invaluable. I couldn't live without it. I would literally be broke if I was saving for a deposit for a house. That would be gone now at this stage, because you'd have to just tap into your savings and to live, just to buy shopping or get your medication, because it took a while to get a medical card to kick in as well with the cancer diagnosis. So I was paying the drug payment scheme every month.
That's €80 a month, isn't it? Yeah, for a drug payment
scheme. Which is still great.
It's great that we have it in Ireland. Yeah, it is compared to other people. But it still is another €80 going out every month.
That you're not getting from the social welfare if you're on it. And the social welfare also is phased, so it depends on your salary, what you were on before, what you get afterwards, what you get when you're sick.
And let's talk through the social welfare claim piece. Did you have to go into the social welfare office? No. Did you just do it online? Did you have any phone calls with them, or how did that go?
No, I just submitted a form online, as far as I remember, and they contacted my GP, and they just get a cert from my GP now for 6 months.
Right, yes, but it's every 6 months you have to check in with them, but you don't have the same thing with Irish Life on your claim, is it? Yeah. So the social welfare will keep a very close eye on it and be a little bit more strict, I feel, than towards the life insurance companies. Yeah, okay. Liz, just want to say a massive thank you for listeners. Liz has travelled up to the studio here in Dublin from Galway just to come on the show and to highlight the importance of income protection. So massive thank you. And I think keep doing what you're doing on Instagram, because I can't say I love watching your stories, because obviously some of them are hard. Yeah. But I think being so authentic and true to the illness and the diagnosis, obviously I haven't being as, you know, I don't have a cancer diagnosis, but I still get a lot from them. So I can only imagine if I was someone sitting at home that just got a diagnosis, or I knew somebody. I think your page is so inspirational. So well done you. Thanks for coming up into the studio, and thanks for giving us your time.
Thanks for having me. And if anyone wants to follow me, my Instagram handle is liz.kavanagh, so you can give me a follow there.
And we're going to share that over on my Instagram page, askpaul.ie, today as well, on the Dublin City page as well. So if you go onto either of our Instagrams, you can find this there as well. Make sure you do drop a follow and support. And I suppose even the comments probably help you during your journey as well. People are coming back.
Support I've gotten from the Instagram page has been invaluable. Like, it's on my days where I feel crap, there's always someone there that is there saying, you look great, you know, you're doing great, keep up the walking. There's always someone there to cheer me up.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And you find that Instagram is kind of almost like a I'm not going to say a distraction, because it's hard to be distracted. But it gives you another kind of sense of the connectivity, because you're out of work, etc. You're home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I love it. I've really taken to it now since I've gotten sick, and it's just, as I said, a hub of support.
Well, I know social media gets an awful time off some people, but it is great to see when social media has the power to help people as well, to be fair to it, and keep people connected, especially being in work and being in an environment where you're seeing people and then having that taken away from you.
There's a lot of people from work that follow me as well, and they'd message me like, oh, we miss you so much.
That's lovely. It's great to see social media having that connectivity for people as well, because I don't think it gets enough recognition for that type of stuff. Liz, a massive thank you once again. Thank you so much for your time.